Commander Hyun stood at the observation window of the space station, staring at the massive ship floating in the darkness. The alien vessel was 10 times bigger than anything humans had ever built. Its surface gleamed with strange metals, and weapons lined every edge. Behind it, more ships appeared one by one, each more threatening than the last. "They're hailing us again," Ensign Hana said from her console. Her voice was steady, but her hands shook slightly. "Put them through," Hyun said calmly. The hologram flickered to life. The alien ambassador was tall, with purple skin and 4 arms. His face was hard and cold. His name was Korval, and he had introduced himself an hour ago with threats instead of greetings. "Human Commander," Korval said, "have you considered our offer?" Captain Yuna, standing beside Hyun, almost laughed. Offer was a strange word for what the aliens had given them. It was simple: surrender everything or die. "We're still reviewing your terms," Hyun replied politely. Korval's eyes narrowed. "There is nothing to review. The Valdrine Empire has conquered 847 worlds. We have never been refused. We have never been challenged. Your choice is simple: bow or burn." Dr. Minho adjusted his glasses and leaned closer to his translation screen. He had been studying the Valdrine language since they arrived. "Commander," he whispered, "their word for negotiate doesn't exist in their language. They've never had to bargain with anyone." Hyun nodded slightly. That explained a lot. "Ambassador Korval," Hyun said, "surely in your long history some species has refused you?" The question seemed to confuse the alien. Korval's 4 arms tensed. "Those who refused are dead. Their planets are ash. Their names are forgotten. Is this what you want for Earth?" "I'm simply curious," Hyun said. "What happened when you met someone who could fight back?" Korval stared at him for a long moment. "That has never happened. It will never happen. The Valdrine Empire is supreme." The hologram showed images then. Burning cities, destroyed planets, entire civilizations wiped out. The Valdrine had recorded their conquests like trophies. They played these recordings to scare their victims into immediate surrender. Yuna watched the images without expression. She had seen war before. Real war. Not this. The Valdrine attacked helpless planets with overwhelming force. They had never fought anyone who could shoot back effectively. "We need 72 hours to discuss this with our government," Hyun said. Korval seemed annoyed. "You need 72 seconds, but very well. You have 3 days. Then we will take your silence as refusal, and your world will burn like the others." The hologram vanished. Hana let out a breath she had been holding. "Sir, what do we do?" Hyun turned away from the window. "We prepare. Contact Admiral Junho at Earth Defense Command. Tell him we have 3 days." "Should I send an emergency alert to Earth?" Hana asked. "Yes, but keep it calm. No need to cause panic." Yuna frowned. "Sir, there are 200 Valdrine warships out there now. More arrive every hour. They're positioning themselves around our entire solar system." "I know," Hyun said. He walked to the central display table where a map showed the Valdrine fleet positions. "Dr. Minho, what else have you learned about them?" Minho pulled up his research. "Their empire is old. They've been conquering for 1,000 years. But here's the interesting part. They've never fought a war, not a real one." "Explain," Hyun said. "Every species they encountered was primitive. Stone Age, early industrial, maybe early space age at most. The Valdrine show up with superior technology, and the species surrenders immediately, or they destroy them in a few hours. They've never faced organized resistance." Yuna understood. "They're bullies. They only pick on the weak." "Exactly," Minho said. "Their tactics are designed for intimidation, not actual combat. Look at their formations. They're spread out for maximum visual impact. Not defensive strength." Hyun studied the display. The Valdrine ships formed a wide ring, each one perfectly visible from Earth. It was meant to terrify. and it might have worked on a primitive species. But humans had been fighting each other for thousands of years. They knew the difference between a threat display and a real military formation. "Keep monitoring them," Hyun ordered. "I want to know everything about their weapons, their ships, their tactics. If they sneeze, I want to know about it." Over the next hours, reports came in from Earth. The news had spread across the planet. Alien invaders, ultimatum, possible war. But the reaction was not what the Valdrine expected. Yuna read the reports with growing amusement. "Sir, you need to see this." She showed him news feeds from Earth. Instead of panic, people were angry. Instead of fear, there was defiance. Social media exploded with jokes about the aliens. Military recruitment centers had lines around the block. One headline read, "Aliens pick fight with wrong planet." "They think we'll just roll over," Yuna said. "They have no idea who they're dealing with." Hyun allowed himself a small smile. "No, they don't. The Valdrine conquered primitive species and thought that made them powerful. They've never met humans before." Dr. Minho looked up from his console. "Commander, I'm getting more transmissions from the Valdrine. They're broadcasting their demands to Earth directly now, trying to scare the civilian population." "Let them," Hyun said. "Our people aren't as easy to frighten as they think." As the first day passed, more Valdrine ships arrived. They performed demonstrations, destroying abandoned satellites and asteroids with powerful weapons. Each explosion was calculated to inspire terror. But on the station, the human crew watched with clinical interest. They recorded everything: weapon power levels, recharge times, tactical patterns. "They're showing off," Yuna observed, "like children with new toys." "Children who've never been hit back," Hyun added. Hana received another transmission. "Sir, Admiral Junho wants to speak with you. Secure channel." Hyun took the call in private. Junho's face appeared on the screen. The Admiral was old, his hair gray, but his eyes were sharp. "Hyun, I've reviewed the Valdrine fleet. What's your assessment?" "They're dangerous, sir, but overconfident. They've never fought a real war." Junho nodded. "My analysts say the same thing. We can take them. The question is, should we?" "They won't leave peacefully, sir. They've never backed down before." "Then we'll teach them a new experience," Junho said. "How much time do we have?" 72 hours, but I don't think we'll need that long." "Why not?" Hyun looked out at the Valdrine fleet. "Because, sir, I have a feeling something interesting is about to happen." He didn't know how right he was. Admiral Junho watched the tactical display from Earth Defense Command headquarters deep below the surface. 60 hours remained on the Valdrine deadline. The alien fleet had grown to 200 warships, arranged in a perfect circle around human space. "They're adding more ships every 6 hours," Dr. Somin reported. She was in charge of analyzing enemy strategies. "It's a psychological tactic. They want us to see the fleet growing and feel more hopeless." "How's it working?" Junho asked. Somin smiled. "Public morale is at an all-time high. People are treating this like the World Cup." Junho shook his head. Humans were strange sometimes, maybe all the time. Lieutenant Wu Jin entered the command center with his flight suit still on. He had just finished running combat drills for the 8th time that day. "Sir, the pilots are ready. We've studied every piece of footage from the Valdrine demonstrations. We know their weapon cycle times, their turn radius. Everything." "Good," Junho said. "But stay patient. Let them keep showing off." On the massive view screen, another Valdrine ship was destroying an asteroid. The explosion was bright and impressive. The Valdrine broadcast these demonstrations on all frequencies, making sure humans saw their power. "They really love those big explosions," Wu Jin said. "But notice how long it takes them to recharge between shots? 43 seconds. Our ships can fire every 12 seconds. "They've never needed faster," Somin explained. "When you're fighting people with bows and arrows, you don't need rapid fire." Nari, a civilian historian, had been invited to the command center. She studied wars throughout human history and had been asked to provide cultural context. Admiral, I've been reviewing their pattern. The Valdreen have the same problem every empire that only conquered the weak has. Which is? Junho asked. They forgot how to fight, real fighting. They know how to intimidate and how to overwhelm primitive defenses, but they've never adapted, never innovated, never been challenged to improve. She pulled up historical examples on her tablet. The Mongols stayed strong because they fought peer opponents. Rome grew powerful through constant warfare with organized enemies. But empires that only crushed the weak, they got soft. The Valdreen are militarily soft. Junho considered this. So we're not fighting the tough empire they think they are. No, sir. We're fighting an empire that hasn't had a real battle in centuries. A new transmission came from the Valdreen fleet. Ambassador Corvell appeared on screen again, his face stern. Humans, we grow impatient. 48 hours remain. We have destroyed 10 more asteroids to demonstrate our power. We have reduced moons to dust. Surrender now and you may live as our servants. Refuse and die. The transmission ended. He really needs new material, Wu Jin muttered. It's the same speech every 8 hours. Junho pulled up communications data. Dr. Soman, have we detected any Valdreen transmissions that aren't directed at us? Yes, sir. They're sending regular reports back to their empire. Standard update protocols. But there's something odd. Show me. Soman displayed the transmission patterns. They're sending these reports on a very specific schedule. Every 12 hours exactly, and they're using outdated encryption. We cracked it in 30 minutes. What are they saying? Junho asked. Mostly bragging. They're telling their empire about the primitive humans cowering in fear. They expect us to surrender any moment. They've already started discussing which Valdreen nobles will govern Earth. Nari laughed. They're counting their chickens before they hatch. More like counting chickens they never had, Wu Jin said. The hours continued to pass. The Valdreen performed more demonstrations. They destroyed an abandoned space station that humans had already evacuated. They fired weapons at empty ships. Each time, they broadcast the destruction across all channels. But on Earth and on the orbital stations, humans watched with increasing amusement rather than fear. Junho received reports from around the planet. Military forces were ready, ships were armed, defenses were active. But more interestingly, civilian morale remained high. Sir, you need to see what's trending on social media, one of the junior officers said. Junho looked at the screen. The top trend was a meme comparing Valdreen battle tactics to a toddler throwing a tantrum. Another popular post showed a Valdreen ship next to a human warship with the caption, "Corporate wants you to find the difference between these pictures." They're making jokes, Junho said, amazed. Sir, humans always make jokes when they're nervous, Nari explained. But also when they're confident. In this case, I think it's confidence. People aren't scared of the Valdreen, they're annoyed by them. Wu Jin nodded. My pilots have a betting pool going on how long the Valdreen will last once we engage. Current over-under is 45 minutes. That's optimistic, Soman said. I give them an hour. You're both wrong, Junho said. We're not engaging unless we have to. Sir? Wu Jin looked confused. The Valdreen want to fight. They want us to attack so they can claim we were the aggressors. We're not giving them that. We wait. We watch. We prepare. And we only fight if they force us to. What if they attack anyway? Wu Jin asked. Then we respond. But I have a feeling the situation is going to change before that happens. Soman frowned. What do you mean, sir? Junho pointed at the tactical display. The Valdreen are broadcasting their position across half the galaxy. They're announcing their presence loudly. They want everyone to know they're here conquering another species. So they're making a lot of noise, and in a dangerous galaxy, making noise attracts attention. Nari understood. You think someone else might hear them? I think the Valdrine have survived this long because they pick soft targets and move quickly. But now they're sitting still. They're making a spectacle. And they're doing it in a part of space they don't control. The command center was quiet as everyone considered this. You think someone might show up? Wu Jin asked. I think space is dangerous. The Valdrine know this. That's why they usually conquer fast and leave. But they're so confident about us, so sure we're helpless, that they're taking their time, getting comfortable. And that might be a mistake, Soman said. Yes. 24 hours remained on the deadline. The Valdrine fleet continued to grow. 250 ships now, each one positioned to maximize intimidation. Wu Jin ran more drills with his pilots. They practiced formations, attack patterns, and defensive maneuvers. The mood was relaxed but focused. These were professionals who had trained their entire lives for combat. You think we'll actually see action? One of the pilots asked Wu Jin. Maybe, maybe not. Either way, we're ready. I almost feel bad for them, another pilot said. The Valdrine have no idea what they're up against. Don't feel too bad, Wu Jin replied. They came here to enslave us. If they get more than they bargained for, that's their problem. Back at the space station, Commander Hyun continued monitoring the Valdrine fleet. Captain Yuna stood beside him. They're getting more aggressive in their demonstrations, Yuna observed. Bigger explosions, more frequent broadcasts. They're frustrated, Hyun said. We're not reacting the way we're supposed to. We're not begging for mercy. We're not panicking. It's confusing them. Dr. Minho approached with new data. Commander, I've finished analyzing their communication patterns. The Valdrine have a rigid hierarchy. Every decision goes through multiple layers of command. It makes them slow to adapt. That's useful, Hyun said. Anything else? Yes. They're getting reports from their scouts about increased activity in nearby sectors, unexplained energy signatures, but they're dismissing it as irrelevant. Hyun and Yuna exchanged glances. Unexplained energy signatures? Yuna asked. Something's moving in the area, Minho said. The Valdrine detected it, but they're too focused on us to care. Hyun felt a chill run down his spine. Keep monitoring those signatures. I want to know if anything comes closer. 8 hours remained. The Valdrine sent their final warning. Ambassador Korval appeared on screen one last time. Humans, your time is ending. Surrender or face destruction. But even as he spoke, Ensign Hana's console began beeping rapidly. Sir, she said, her voice urgent, I'm detecting massive energy fluctuations at the edge of the system. The Valdrine? Hyun asked. No, sir. Something else. Something big. Everyone in the command center stopped and watched their screens. And that's when everything changed. The sensors screamed warnings across every human station and ship in the solar system. Engineer Ji-woo stared at her displays in disbelief as impossible readings flooded her screens. Commander Hyun, I'm reading massive hyperspace ruptures, she said, her hands flying across the controls. Multiple contacts, hundreds of them. Security Chief Tae Yang pulled up the visual feed. What he saw made his blood run cold. Space itself was tearing open like wounds in reality. Through these tears came ships, organic ships, living ships. They looked like massive insects made of bone and flesh. Their surfaces pulsed with strange light. Acidic substances dripped from their hulls, evaporating into space. These were not machines. These were creatures. What are those? Captain Yuna asked. Dr. Minho's translation software was going crazy, picking up signals that weren't quite language, more like thoughts, shared consciousness. I think it's a hive mind, multiple entities acting as one. The new arrivals numbered over 400. They emerged from hyperspace in perfect coordination, surrounding both the human stations and the Valdrine fleet. Sir, the Valdrine are broadcasting on all channels, Ensign Hana said. Her voice shook. They're in a panic. Ambassador Korval's face appeared on every screen. For the first time, the proud alien looked terrified. Humans, forget our previous discussion. The Kryn have found us. We must form an alliance immediately. Together we can fight them. The Kryn? Hyun asked. Minho worked frantically on his console. I'm accessing the Valdrine data they transmitted. The Kryn are a devouring swarm. They consume all organic life. They've been pursuing the Valdrine across multiple sectors. Wait, Yuna said. The Valdrine came to our system while being chased? It appears so. They led these things right to us? Yes. Taeyang pulled up tactical data on the new arrivals. What he saw was disturbing. The Kryn ships were moving with purpose, cutting off escape routes. They were experienced hunters. Commander, the Kryn are positioning to attack both us and the Valdrine, Taeyang reported. The Valdrine fleet broke formation. Their perfect circle dissolved into chaos as ships scrambled for defensive positions. More broadcasts came from Korval. Humans, you must help us. If we fall, you are next. The Kryn will devour your entire species. We must work together. Hyun watched the Valdrine ships panic. These were the same ships that had been threatening humanity just hours ago. The same empire that had destroyed hundreds of civilizations. Now they were begging for help. Captain Yuna pressed her lips together, trying to keep a straight face. Captain? Hyun asked. I'm sorry, sir, Yuna said. It's just... They came here to threaten us, to enslave us, and now... She couldn't finish the sentence because she started to laugh. It started as a small chuckle. Then it grew. Yuna bent over, holding her sides. Laughing so hard, tears formed in her eyes. Captain, this is serious, Hyun said, but his own voice cracked slightly. Taeyang snorted. Then he started laughing too. Jiwoo looked up from her console, saw the others laughing, and started giggling despite the danger. Even Hana, terrified just moments ago, felt the absurdity of the situation hit her. These powerful aliens came to conquer Earth. Now they were running scared, begging the people they threatened to save them. I'm sorry, Yuna gasped between laughs. I'm sorry, it's just the timing. Dr. Minho was grinning. They had 72 hours to intimidate us, and this happens with 1 hour left on their deadline. That set off another wave of laughter through the bridge. On Earth, Admiral Junho watched the same situation unfold. His command center was silent for exactly 10 seconds. Then Lieutenant Wu Jin started laughing. They led the enemy right to us, Wu Jin said, laughing. They came here acting tough and brought their own nightmare with them. This is the funniest thing I've ever seen, one of the tactical officers said, wiping tears from his eyes. Dr. Soman was trying to maintain professionalism, but even she was smiling. Admiral, the Valdrine are requesting immediate military assistance. They're offering to make us full members of their empire if we help them. Full members? Junho said, raising an eyebrow. An hour ago, we were supposed to be slaves. Yes, sir. They're quite desperate. Nari, the historian, was watching the Valdrine fleet movements with fascination. Look at their formation. They're trained for overwhelming primitive species, not defending against a real threat. They're completely unprepared. On the view screen, the Kryn began their attack. Bioweapons fired from the organic ships. Streams of acid, living projectiles, and energy pulses that looked biological rather than technological. The Valdrine returned fire. Their big, impressive weapons that had destroyed asteroids with ease now faced an enemy that fought back. It wasn't going well for the Valdrine. They're losing, Taeyang observed from the space station. Badly, Yuna added, still wiping laugh tears from her face. Commander Hyun watched the battle unfold. The humor of the situation was undeniable, but the danger was real. The Kryn were efficient killers. They moved like a pack of predators, coordinating attacks perfectly. Jiwoo, Analyze the Kryn weapons, Hyun ordered. Yes, sir. The engineer's fingers danced across her console. Biological weapons. Acid-based, neural disruption fields, and something that looks like it breaks down metal at a molecular level. Effective against the Valdrine? Very. The Valdrine shields aren't designed for biological attacks. They're purely energy-based. Another transmission from Korval. The ambassador no longer looked proud or threatening. He looked desperate. Humans, please, we are losing ships. The Kryn will overwhelm us. You must engage now or we all die. Yuna looked at Hyun. Sir, what do we do? Hyun watched the battle. Watched the Valdrine ships explode one by one. Watched the Kryn swarm, adapt, and overcome. Nothing yet, he said. Sir, let's see what we're dealing with. We need to understand the Kryn before we engage. But the Valdrine came here to enslave us. I'm not going to risk human lives without understanding the threat fully. On Earth, Junho gave the same order to his forces. All units, stand ready, but do not engage. Observe and record everything. Woojin frowned. Admiral, the Valdrine are losing badly. If we wait too long, there won't be any left to save. I know, but we need data. The Kryn are a real threat. The Valdrine were just annoying. Dr. Soman pulled up analysis. The Kryn use swarm tactics. They overwhelm with numbers and coordination, but they're following predictable patterns. Predictable how? Junho asked. They're hive-minded. They all think the same way. Once you understand the pattern, you can exploit it. How long to understand the pattern? Give me 20 minutes of combat data. You have it. The battle raged on. The Valdrine lost ship after ship. Their formations crumbled. Their weapons proved less effective than their demonstrations suggested. They really have never fought a real war, Nari observed. Look at them. No tactical adaptation, no creative responses. They're just trying the same attacks over and over. The Kryn are learning from each exchange, Somin added. They're adapting in real time. The Valdrine aren't. 20 minutes passed. The Valdrine fleet was down to 60 ships from 200. Korval's transmissions became more frantic. Why do you not help? Are you savages who enjoy watching slaughter? On the space station, Hyun's crew had stopped laughing. The situation was serious now, but the irony remained. Sir, Yuna said quietly, we should do something. I know, Hyun replied. Contact Admiral Junho. Tell him we have enough data. Yes, sir. Junho received the message from the station. He looked around his command center. His staff was ready. Woojin's pilots were waiting. Earth's defense fleet was armed and prepared. All right, Junho said. Enough watching. Battle stations. Across the solar system, human forces activated. Ships powered up weapons. Fighters launched from carriers. Defense platforms came online. Korval saw the human movements on his sensors. Finally, humans! Attack the Kryn! Save us! Junho opened a communication channel to all human forces and to the Valdrine fleet. Attention, all units. Remember, the Valdrine are now clients, not enemies. Try to save as many as possible. He paused, then smiled. The Kryn, however. Show them why you don't pick fights in someone else's neighborhood. The human fleet moved forward to join the battle. Lieutenant Woojin felt the familiar weight of acceleration as his fighter launched from the carrier. Around him, 200 other pilots did the same. They moved in perfect formation, years of training making it seem effortless. Gold Squadron, form up on me, Woojin commanded. Remember your training. These things are biological, so aim for the vital-looking parts. Which parts look vital? One pilot asked. The glowing ones, and anything that's pulsing. The Kryn swarm noticed the human ships immediately. A group of 50 bioships broke off from their attack on the Valdrine and turned toward the humans. The Kryn expected the humans to scatter in fear like the Valdrine had. Instead, the human fighters split into 3 groups and accelerated directly at them. Now, Wu Jin ordered. The fighters opened fire. But unlike the Valdrene's slow, powerful weapons, the human guns fired rapidly. Streams of projectiles tore into the Kryn ships. The biological armor that had shrugged off Valdrene energy weapons couldn't handle the kinetic impacts. 3 Kryn ships exploded in the first volley. "It's working," a pilot shouted. "Stay focused," Wu Jin replied. "Don't get cocky. They're learning." He was right. The Kryn adapted quickly, changing their formation. But Wu Jin had expected that. He'd studied the battle patterns for 20 minutes. He knew what they would do. "Break left and right on my mark," he ordered. 3, 2, 1, mark! The fighters split. The Kryn ships tried to follow but couldn't match the human maneuvers. The fighters came around behind them and fired again. 6 more Kryn ships fell. On the larger battlefield, Earth's warships engaged with devastating precision. Tactical Officer Do Hyun coordinated the attack from his station aboard the flagship. "Target the hive ships first," he ordered. "Those are their command vessels." The human cruisers fired missiles. Not energy weapons like the Valdrene used, but physical projectiles filled with explosives. The Kryn's biological defenses couldn't absorb the impacts. The hive ships ruptured and died. Without their command vessels, the Kryn swarm became confused. Their perfect coordination broke down. "They're disorganized," Do-hyun reported. "Pressing the advantage." Admiral Junho watched from Earth with satisfaction. "Dr. Soman, status?" "The Kryn are falling back. They expected easy prey like the Valdrene. They're encountering organized military resistance. Keep the pressure on." In space, Captain Sunho commanded a stealth ship. While the fighters and cruisers fought openly, his ship had slipped through the chaos unnoticed. Stealth technology was something humans had perfected through centuries of warfare. "We're in position behind their formation," Sunho reported quietly. "Target the support vessels," came the order from command. Sunho's ship fired torpedoes at point-blank range. The Kryn never saw them coming. 3 support ships exploded before the swarm realized they had an enemy behind them. By the time they turned to face Sunho, his ship had already vanished again, cloaked and moving to a new position. On the Valdrene flagship, Ambassador Korval watched in shock. The humans weren't just fighting. They were winning. Easily. "How?" he whispered. "How are they doing this?" His tactical officer had no answer. The Valdrene had been losing badly to the Kryn, but the humans had joined the fight less than 10 minutes ago and had already destroyed over 40 Kryn ships with minimal losses. "They fight like they've done this before," the officer said. "They have," Korval realized. "They fight like this is normal for them." He opened a channel to Commander Hyun. "Human Commander, your forces are impressive." Hyun appeared on screen. Unlike Korval, he looked calm. "Thank you, Ambassador. We're doing our best to protect both our space and yours. Your ships, your tactics. How did you develop such effective methods?" "We've been fighting for thousands of years, Ambassador. Just not against species from other planets. We fought each other." Korval didn't understand. "You fought your own kind?" "Constantly. Wars, battles, conflicts. Our entire history is combat. We learned every lesson the hard way." For the first time, Korval understood what the Valdrene Empire had encountered. Not a primitive species, not helpless prey. They had stumbled upon a world of warriors. Commander Yaren led her Marines aboard a damaged Kryn vessel. The boarding action was risky, but humanity needed intelligence. "Watch the corners," she ordered. "These things are biological. They might still be alive even if the ship looks dead." Her team moved through the organic corridors with their weapons ready. The interior of the Kryn ship was disturbing. Walls that pulsed, floors that felt alive. But the Marines had trained for hostile environments. They found the ship's core, a massive brain-like organ that controlled the vessel. "Get samples," Yaren ordered. "We need to understand how they work." Her team collected biological material while she covered them. A Kryn warrior emerged from the shadows, but Yaren was ready. 3 shots, and it fell. "Samples secured," her second-in-command reported. "Good. Plant the charges and let's go." They escaped the ship seconds before it exploded. Back in the main battle, the tide had completely turned. The Kryn swarm that had been overwhelming the Valdrine was now being torn apart by human forces. Lieutenant Wu Jin and his pilots had destroyed 18 Kryn ships without losing a single fighter. The pilots worked together like they'd been flying as a unit their whole lives, because they had. "Gold Leader, you have 3 on your 6, his wingman called. "I see them. Break and attack pattern Delta." The maneuver was complex, requiring perfect timing, but the squadron executed it flawlessly. The 3 pursuing Kryn ships flew directly into a crossfire and died. The Kryn tried to adapt. They changed formations, altered attack patterns, focused fire. Nothing worked. The humans anticipated every move. Dr. Samin watched the battle data with fascination. "Admiral, the Kryn are trying to retreat." "Don't let them," Junho ordered. "If they escape, they'll just come back with more ships. End this now." Captain Sunho's stealth ships appeared behind the retreating Kryn vessels. More torpedoes, more explosions. The Kryn had arrived with 400 ships. After 3 hours of battle, less than 100 remained, and those were damaged. The surviving Kryn made a final decision. They abandoned the attack and fled into hyperspace, leaving their dead behind. The battle was over. In the aftermath, silence filled the communication channels. The Valdrine stared at their sensors in disbelief. They had lost 140 ships to the Kryn. The humans had lost 12 fighters and taken minor damage to 3 cruisers. Korval opened a channel to Commander Hyun. The proud ambassador had no words. Hyun spoke first. "Ambassador, are your remaining ships secure?" Yes, they are. Thanks to you. "We'll send medical ships to assist your wounded." You would help us? After we threatened you?" Hyun's expression was kind but firm. "You're not a threat, Ambassador. You never were. The Kryn are a real threat. There's a difference." "I don't understand. How did you defeat them so easily? We couldn't hurt them at all." "You wanted to intimidate us with your conquest history. But you only conquered those who couldn't fight back. Humanity has been at war with itself for our entire existence. We've mastered every form of combat." Admiral Junho appeared on the channel as well. "The Kryn are dangerous because they're experienced hunters, but we're experienced warriors. We know how to fight. We know how to adapt. We know how to win." Korval looked at the human leaders with new eyes. "We made a terrible mistake coming here." "Yes," Hyun agreed. "You did. But perhaps something good can come from it." "What do you mean?" "The Kryn will return. Stronger. More prepared. When they do, you'll need allies who know how to fight." Junho nodded. "We're willing to form a mutual defense pact. We'll help you against the Kryn. In exchange, you share your technology and knowledge with us. And you'll teach us to fight like you do? If you're willing to learn." Korval thought about his empire, about how they had conquered the weak for so long they forgot what real strength looked like, about how close they came to destruction. "We are willing," he said quietly. On the space station, Captain Yuna looked at the battlefield. Debris floated where hundreds of ships had died. "Commander, what happens now?" Hyun smiled. "Now we clean up, repair, and prepare. Because Junho is right. The Kryn will come back. And we'll be ready? We're always ready, Captain. That's what humans do." Lieutenant Wu Jin landed his fighter and climbed out. His squadron gathered around him, laughing and celebrating. "Did you see their faces?" one pilot said. "The Valdrine couldn't believe we won." "They thought they were tough," another added. "They had no idea." Wu Jin smiled, but then grew serious. "We won today. But don't get overconfident. The Kryn learned from this fight too. Next time will be harder. Let them come, a pilot said. We'll be ready. And they would be. Because humanity had learned one lesson better than any other species in the galaxy: survive and adapt. 3 days after the battle, Commander Hyun stood in the same observation window where he had first seen the Valdrine fleet. The view was very different now. Valdrine's ships floated alongside human vessels. Repair crews from both species worked together to fix damaged ships. Ambassador Korval approached, walking carefully in the human station's gravity. Commander Hyun, I want to thank you again. Without your intervention, the Valdrine fleet would have been destroyed. You're welcome, Ambassador, but we didn't do it just for you. The Kryn are a threat to everyone in this region of space. Still, you had every reason to let us die. We came here with threats and demands. Hyun turned to face the alien. Yes, you did. But we're not like you, Ambassador. We don't let people die just because we can. Korval looked ashamed. I have sent a full report to the Valdrine Empire. I told them the truth about what happened here, about how badly we misjudged humanity. And what did they say? They don't believe it. They think I'm exaggerating. That's why they're sending observers. Let them come, Hyun said. We have nothing to hide. On Earth, Admiral Junho met with his senior staff. The battle had been analyzed in detail. Every move, every decision, every outcome studied carefully. Dr. Somin presented her findings. The Kryn will return. Our intelligence suggests they're a persistent species. They don't give up on prey easily. How long do we have? Junho asked. Unknown. Could be months. Could be years. But they'll come back with more ships and new tactics. Then we prepare, Junho said. Lieutenant Wu Jin, how are the pilots? Wu Jin grinned. Celebrating, sir, but also training. They know this isn't over. Good. Dr. Somin, what about the Valdrine? Can they actually be useful allies? Somin pulled up data on the Valdrine Empire. Their technology is advanced in some areas. Their shields, while ineffective against biological weapons, are better than ours against energy weapons. Their ships are faster in hyperspace. They have resources across hundreds of systems. But can they fight? Junho asked. Not yet. But they can learn. Nari has been studying their culture. Tell him what you found. Nari stood up. The Valdrine Empire is old and proud. They've been conquering for so long they forgot what it means to struggle. But before they became conquerors, they were explorers and builders. That spirit is still there, buried under centuries of easy victories. Can we bring it back? Junho asked. I think so. They're shocked right now. Humbled. That makes them teachable. If we approach this right, we can help them remember what they used to be. Junho nodded. Then that's what we'll do. The galaxy needs strong allies, not weak empires. On the space station, Captain Yuna gave a tour to a group of Valdrine officers. They wanted to see how human military operations worked. This is our tactical center, Yuna explained. We coordinate all ship movements from here. A Valdrine officer looked at the displays. Your systems are less advanced than ours technologically, but your coordination is superior. Technology isn't everything, Yuna said. We've learned that working together effectively matters more than having the best equipment. How do you train for this level of coordination? Constant practice, simulations, real exercises, and honestly, centuries of fighting each other taught us a lot about teamwork. Another Valdrine officer asked, Why do you fight each other? Don't you know it's wasteful? Yuna smiled sadly. Of course we know. But humans are complicated. We have different beliefs, different goals, different cultures. Sometimes those differences lead to conflict. But you united to face the Kryn. External threats have a way of making internal problems seem smaller. Though we're still working on that. The Valdrine officers exchanged glances. Their empire had never experienced internal conflict. Every species they conquered became part of a unified whole, but it was a unity based on fear, not cooperation. Commander Yeren returned from her intelligence mission with valuable data. She met with Hyun and Junho via secure communication. "The Kryn biological samples are fascinating and terrifying," she reported. "They're a true hive mind. Individual creatures have no independent thought. They exist only to serve the swarm." "Weaknesses?" Junho asked. "Their strength is their weakness. They're too coordinated. If you disrupt their command structure, the entire swarm becomes confused. We saw that in battle when we destroyed the hive ships." "So we target their leaders," Hyun said. "Exactly. But here's the problem. The Kryn learn. Next time, they'll protect their hive ships better. They'll adapt to our tactics." "Then we adapt faster," Junho said. "That's one advantage we have. Humans are creative. The Kryn follow patterns. We improvise." Days turned into weeks. The Valdrine and human alliance took shape. Treaties were signed. Technology was shared. Training programs began. Lieutenant Wu Jin found himself teaching Valdrine pilots basic combat maneuvers. It was frustrating at first. No, he said to a Valdrine pilot. "You're too rigid. You fly like you're following a script. Combat doesn't work that way. You have to feel it, adapt, react." "But the manual says," "Forget the manual. The enemy doesn't read the manual. When someone shoots at you, you don't check your instructions. You move." The Valdrine pilot tried again. This time, when Wu Jin simulated an attack, the pilot reacted instinctively instead of following procedure. The evasion worked. "Better," Wu Jin said. "That's what I'm talking about. Trust your instincts." "We were never taught to trust instincts," the pilot said. "We were taught to follow orders perfectly." "Both are important, but perfect obedience won't save you in a real fight. You need to think for yourself." It was a hard lesson for the Valdrine to learn, but slowly they began to understand. Captain Sunho worked with Valdrine engineers to improve their stealth technology. The Valdrine had never developed it because they never needed to hide. They always announced their presence loudly. "Stealth is about more than just technology," Sunho explained. "It's a mindset. You have to think like prey while acting like a predator." "This is difficult for us," a Valdrine engineer admitted. "We are not accustomed to hiding." "I know, but the Kryn are hunters. Sometimes the best way to hunt a hunter is to become invisible." The Valdrine were learning, slowly but learning. 6 months passed. The alliance grew stronger. Human and Valdrine ships patrolled together. Joint exercises became routine. The Valdrine were improving as fighters. But the Kryn returned. This time they came with twice as many ships. 800 biovessels emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the system. Admiral Junho received the alert calmly. "All forces to battle stations. Contact the Valdrine fleet. It's time to see if they learned anything." Ambassador Corval appeared on screen. He no longer looked afraid. "Admiral Junho, the Valdrine fleet is ready. We stand with humanity." "Good. Remember your training. Don't try to be heroes. Just do your job." "Understood." The combined human Valdrine fleet moved to intercept. This time, the Valdrine didn't panic. They held formation. They followed the tactical plans they had practiced. Lieutenant Wu Jin led his squadron with Valdrine fighters flying alongside. "Stay tight, everyone. Remember, we protect each other," the Valdrine pilots responded. "Understood, Gold Leader." The battle began. The Kryn had learned too. They protected their hive ships better. They used new tactics. They adapted to human weapons. But humanity had prepared for that. Captain Sunho's stealth ships used new approaches. Commander Yerin's Marines employed different boarding techniques. Tactical Officer Do Yun adjusted strategies in real time. And the Valdrine, for the first time in their long history, fought as warriors instead of conquerors. The battle lasted 12 hours. It was brutal and costly. But when it ended, the Kryn fled again. this time with even heavier losses. The humans lost 30 ships, the Valdrine lost 50, but they had won together. In the aftermath, Wu Jin found his Valdrine students celebrating. "We did it! We actually fought them off!" "You did well," Wu Jin said, proud of them. "We couldn't have done it without your training." "Maybe not. But you're the ones who had to fly the ships. You're the ones who faced the danger. Be proud of that." Back on Earth, Admiral Junho met with Korval in person for the first time. The Valdrine ambassador bowed deeply. "Thank you, Admiral, for everything, for saving us, for teaching us, for showing us what we had forgotten." "What's that?" Junho asked. "That strength isn't about dominating the weak. It's about standing together against real threats." Junho smiled. "You're learning, Ambassador. Keep learning. The galaxy is a dangerous place. It needs strong people who fight for the right reasons." "And what are the right reasons?" "To protect, to defend, to preserve life instead of destroying it." Korval nodded. "The Valdrine Empire will remember this lesson." Commander Hyun watched from the space station as human and Valdrine ships flew together in perfect formation. Captain Yuna stood beside him. "Do you think they'll really change?" Yuna asked. "I think they already have," Hyun replied. "They came here as conquerors. They're leaving as allies. That's change. And when the Kryn come back again? We'll be ready, humans and Valdrine together. Maybe we'll even find other allies. Think we can win?" Hyun smiled. "We're humans, Captain. We always find a way to win. It's what we do." Far across the galaxy, reports reached the Galactic Council. Reports about a strange new species called humans, about how they defeated the Kryn, about how they turned enemies into allies. The Council watched with interest. This new species was unlike anything they had encountered before. And in the darkness of space, the Kryn swarm prepared for another attack. They had learned from their defeats. They would return stronger, but so would humanity. Because that's what humans did. They learned, they adapted, they survived, and most importantly, they never gave up.